Hey guys, coming to you from my kitchen. We got Chef Brandon in here today. I'm going to make an ice cream recipe. This is something I've had consistently in my diet for a while, especially when I'm really tightening things down. I like to enjoy that little additional treat without sitting there and wrecking everything that I've done for that day. So I'm going to make a low carb, super high protein ice cream that I eat every single night. Show you my process, how I go about it. I'll write the directions or the ingredient list and everything down in a comment below, but this is a serving for 8. What I recommend doing is play around with it and make one serving at a time. That's how I did this until I perfected it to what I need. And then I make small little tweaks from there. But again, make one serving at a time before you figure it out. So I'm going to make 8 servings that'll last me all throughout the week. I have this every single night after dinner. And again, it's just my way of getting that sweet tooth fix, but a high additional amount of protein. So here we go. We're having at it. I'm not cutting this at all. This is real raw. I may have a kid run through here in the next 20 minutes when they get home. But this is what we got to work with today, all right? So my ice cream, first off, I start by using a big mixing bowl. Again, I'm making 8 servings. If you're doing 1 serving, just sit there and mix it in a little bowl and freeze it and try it later. But to be able to do my math on this, what I do is I have my scale, all right? I set my scale out and I measure the bowl. This way I can measure the serving size when I come down. So once I've measured the bowl, put it on ounces here. Okay. And if you do not have a scale, invest in one, guys. It's the best $35 I've ever spent. It's a rechargeable one. I don't have to replace it. The one I had previously that lasted me probably 12 years had a unique battery in it. This one's rechargeable. I got it off Amazon. I can share that link as well. But I use this all the time. But here we go. I measure my bowl. Once my bowl is measured, this is 17 ounces. Now I got a little whiteboard over here for our family. I'm going to write that down so I don't remember. So what I'm going to do is now that I have that measured, once I combine all these ingredients again, I'll re-measure it. And when I re-measure it, I'll know how many ounces I have in there, and I take those ounces and I divide them by 8, and that gives me my perfect serving size. So again, I'll give you guys the macros for a single serving, but I'm going to show you how to make 8 servings today. So the base of our ice cream is going to be yogurt. Now, I have never done this with Greek yogurt. I know that Greek yogurt would not double because I'm going to have additional protein in there, but would significantly increase the amount of protein. I couldn't tell you what the texture is like, how it is frozen. I just use a plain yogurt, no flavor at all. You can use flavoring, again, just figure it in your macros. But the reason I make 8 servings is because I know in this quart I've got 8 half-cup servings of yogurt. I like getting yogurt in every single day. It's phenomenal for your gut, has great probiotics in there, good culture enzymes and stuff from the dairy, along with being a decent amount of protein and fat and fairly low carbohydrates. So the reason I make 8 servings is I know 8 servings are in this. So I'm going to sit there and dump it into my mixing bowl. Okay, so I've got my 8 servings in there. This is grass-fed, grass-finished, raw A2 protein dairy that we get from that guy called Fed from the Farm. If anybody's interested in that, reach out. I'll send you a link that'll save you $10. This is the purest yogurt you can get. Again, there's nothing wrong with the yogurt at Costco or anything like that. I just hated the artificially sweetened things. Again, I take everything an extra mile, so take what I say with a grain of salt, see what works for you guys. I'm an extremist, but that's the yogurt I'm using. So I've got 8 cups of yogurt in there. Now, I want this to be a little bit creamier and add a little bit of fat to it. Again, if you got to be cautious of your fat, maybe you keep this out, but I add 8 tablespoons of heavy cream into it. So again, each tablespoon has about 5 grams of fat, give or take a carbohydrate. The carbohydrates are minimal in it. I really don't want to say this, but you'll see like half of the servings in nutrition facts you see on heavy cream. Some of them say 0 carbs, some of them say 1. It's bare minimal in it. Still count the 1 if you want to be extra cautious, but I put 8 tablespoons of heavy cream into it. It's going to give it that creaminess. And then I also add 8 egg yolks. Now, these are raw egg yolks. I know everybody freaks out about raw eggs. I've probably eaten 10,000 raw eggs, and I've never got salmonella poisoning or anything like that. Typically, salmonella poison comes from the outside of the egg, not necessarily the inside. But again, this gives it that good flavor. What people don't realize, a lot of homemade ice creams have raw egg yolk in them. It's great. It's super high in choline, ton of vitamins and minerals in it. I think it's one of nature's best superfoods. But again, if the raw egg just ain't working for you, don't put it in there. So with that, you can see I've added the fat. So I've got the yogurt, the full fat yogurt, the heavy cream, and the egg yolks. Now, there's a decent amount of protein in this, but I want to kick it up a notch. So I am going to do 8 servings of protein. Now, this here is a specific protein that I use. I use the whey isolate that we carry at the gym, and then I also use an additional protein that's a beef isolate. And again, guys, I'm extreme. Use the protein you want to use. This has like heart, beef, liver, spleen. You can't taste it or anything like that. It has like a chocolate profile to it. But there's tons of vitamins and minerals through those organs. And this is a great way of getting that in without me sitting there eating the actual organs themselves. But you can use your chocolate protein. I actually never even thought of this. We carry the cookies and cream protein. Now, macros will be different than what I give you guys on this, and I will give you the macros for the whey because I know that's what the majority of you guys are going to use. But this is the flavor. This is going to give it that light chocolate flavor. The stevia that's in it is also going to help sweeten it, so we don't have to add an additional sweetener to get those additional carbohydrates. So I add my 8 servings. Remember, if you are following along on this and you're doing single servings, it would be half a cup of yogurt, 1 egg yolk, 1 tablespoon of heavy cream, 1 scoop of protein. Now, I'm going to start mixing this in, but I got a couple other things I'm going to add once I get it mixed in. If you have a KitchenAid, that work really well too. If you want to get an additional workout, you can sit here and whisk it all up. I'd get a spatula too to scrape those sides and get it good, because you'll see with that whey protein and stuff, you kind of got to get it mixed up fairly well. But this will be enough for today. Now, I also want to add collagen. I want a serving of collagen in it. You won't even notice that it's in here. The only issue with the collagen is I do not dump it in like I dump the protein. Everything will blend up perfectly smooth once you start whisking it, besides the collagen. Being that the collagen is cold and it's the liquid you're putting in it is fairly thick, you'll get little chunks and chewy chunks in it. Again, I don't mind it, but if you're to do that, you're going to take your serving of collagen and I lightly sprinkle it over the top, stir it a little bit, and slowly add it in. And that keeps you from having any of those additional chunks. So this takes a little bit extra on the process. Again, you can just throw it in. You'll just have those little chunks in there. You can't really taste it. It's more like it's kind of chewy once it's frozen. I don't mind it at all, but again, I'm not very picky at all, and I like things simple. But once we mix all that collagen in, keep from trying to get those clumps, we'll sit there and we'll add the last 2 ingredients. So again, following along, I'll repeat it. You got half a cup of plain yogurt. You've got 1 tablespoon of heavy cream, 1 egg yolk, 1 scoop protein, 1 scoop of collagen. Now, just throw it off a little bit, and I have made this with it, and I've made this without it. And I can tell you, I don't know what the difference is, but there is a difference. I do a decent pinch of sea salt. I have no clue why. After researching this for a while, and again, this has been in the making for probably a year plus, putting a little bit of that natural sea salt in it will change the flavor a touch, and it's for the better. And I couldn't tell you why or how, but it is just different. Now, along with that, we are going to put 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. If you're making a single serving, I would put just like barely a splash. I would actually like take a teaspoon, which isn't much, and barely put any in the bottom and throw it in there. Again, it makes a difference. I don't know what, but it just tastes better with this in there. So for a serving size of 8, I add 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar into it. Again, don't ask me why. Get it all mixed up. All right, so I've got everything in here. It's well mixed, and then I put it into individual serving containers and freeze them so I have them throughout the week ready to roll. Guys, this is a quick, easy meal. I'd eat this for breakfast. There's no insulin, big insulin spike into it. There's not a ton of sugar into it. I feel good after I eat it. This could be a quick and easy meal. You could eat this now as it is. Again, the macros are phenomenal on it. This is crazy high in protein. But what I do now if you remember, the bowl weighed 17. Write it down because you'll forget about it. I got it over there. I will bring my scale back out. And I know that I had 17 ounces on that bowl. Now that I'll have everything in it, and I'll remove the spatula here. Okay, I will weigh it again. Now that I've weighed it, I'm roughly at 67 ounces. So what do? We subtract that 17 from the 67. So that puts me at 50 ounces. Now, if you have 50 ounces of product and I need to divide that by 8, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I cut the video so I could get a calculator to make sure I was right so I didn't look like an idiot or more than I typically would. If we divide that all out, that takes us to 6.25 ounces per serving for 8 servings. So again, remember guys, if you're making a single serving of this, you don't have to measure anything because everything's been pre-measured and put into it. So that is going 6.25, and again, I'll write it down so I can remember when I make 8 servings. Is going to be my serving size. So I take my containers now that I'll have. I put it on the scale. I hit tare, which zeroes it out. So you can put stuff on your scale and zero it out. That way you can just measure the contents that you're going to put into it. Now that I have it mixed up pretty well, and I would have a spatula for this to make it easy, I'm going to slowly pour this in there until I see about 5.5 come across. Once I see about 5.5 come across, I slowly pull away and then do a couple additional drips so I don't over pour. A little bit more. All right, 6.25 on the dot. Oh, that's good, guys. 6.25 on the dot. This is a perfect single serving size. I close this lid up, put it in the freezer, and I'll have 8 of these waiting for me for the next week. Now, depending on what your macros allow, guys, what I really like to do when I'm eating higher carbs, or my macros are a little bit different, with this is what I call a carb conscious macro plan. Again, you guys heard me say it. I don't want you to fear carbohydrates, but I do want you to respect them. So we do have to be cautious of them, especially once we get more towards the evening and we don't have as many to spare. If I wanted to make this a little bit sweeter and I wanted to keep it natural and I wanted to keep it healthy, I would either use a little bit of raw honey, or what I prefer is raw organic maple syrup. Now, the reason I don't like honey is it kind of, what's the term, coagulates when it gets cold. So you throw it in some cold product, it just really doesn't mix up and blend as well. Maple syrup blends up real well. And I find maple syrup to be fairly sweet. And I think a tablespoon of maple syrup only has 13 or 14 carbohydrates in it. A tablespoon of honey has 17 to 18. So I feel like I get that same sweetness and I don't get as many of the carbohydrates. And I know we're only counting a couple here, but as you all know, they add up very quick. So this is my protein ice cream. Again, play around with different flavors. Start with single servings. That way you can find the flavor profile that you like. Again, as I'm sitting here making this, I've only ever made chocolate or vanilla. Vanilla, I like to put a little vanilla extract in it when I make it, but I never even thought about using the chocolate peanut butter we have at the gym, or even the cookies and cream, which may be something. If you guys try that out, let me know how that works. I'd be very interested in to see how that tastes, because I absolutely love cookies and cream ice cream. But again, just going off the top of my head, and I'll throw this into the description below so you guys know what these specific macros are using the whey protein that we have at the gym, not necessarily the one that I used. But I want to say there's at least 7 grams in the yogurt of protein. There's 10 grams, or 9 or 10 grams in the collagen, so there's 17. There's 24 in the whey protein by itself, so there what we're looking at, 41. And then I got a little bit because of the egg yolk. I think there's 2 grams of protein in there with that egg yolk as well. So I'm looking at a 40 plus protein serving and 6.5 ounces of content. So that, fantastic, super high protein. I enjoy having it every single night. You don't crash from it. You don't feel terrible after it. Again, you can eat this thing for breakfast if you wanted to. So I hope this helps. Hope you guys try it out, and I hope this helps your macros and get that additional protein in.